like the title of the video suggests, the 1979 sci-fi horror flick Alien is in fact within the cyberpunk genre. Why? Well, because Google told me so, of course no. Of course not. We need to talk about why the movie Alien is considered cyberpunk today, and the importance of Ridley Scott's second movie when it comes to visual storytelling in a genre that didn't even exist yet. Now, before we get all the way into it, we should probably go through some of the basics of the cyberpunk genre. All the way from proto-cyberpunk works like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, a book written in 1968, to CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. All things cyberpunk draw from the same core themes and elements. Those are, and in no particular order, megacorporations. A megacorp is essentially a corporation that has its hands in all forms of manufacturing. Cars, weapons, tech, software, cyberware, robots, AI, household appliances, and so on. The megacorps are cold and ruthless in pursuit of profit and advancement of what they produce by any shady means necessary. In a cyberpunk dystopia, people of every sex, race, and creed would become equally worthless under the heel of the megacorps. High-tech, low-life dystopia. The theme of high-tech, low-life comes from the rapidly advancing technology in cyberware that is just as rapidly creating class divides based on their availability. Often in these worlds, keeping up to spec with your implants ends up becoming more important than your next meal. The reason high-tech, low-life is so important is because it is one of the core themes that gives any cyberpunk setting its darker, grittier, and somewhat more realistic flavor of sci-fi.
I only speak two languages, English and bad English.
AI, robots, or replicant types experiencing existential dread. Now, AI going rampant or turning on society isn't necessarily unique to cyberpunk, but where the genre sets itself apart is when it delves into the idea that if AI or robots were truly sentient and omniscient, that they could very well develop their own version of emotions, and even come to acknowledge how limited their existence truly is, providing depth and personality to these man-made machines and constructs.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the 10-Hauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
Last but certainly not least, cyberware. Now, it just seems to me like the authors that were the pioneers of cyberpunk essentially looked at the high-tech gear and sophistication of sci-fi at the time and said, well, why wouldn't we want to implement some of that technology into ourselves, try to improve ourselves? And with that decision, and if we had truly gone down that path, who's to say what the consequences would be? The concept of cyberware and cyberpsychosis is one of the key elements of Cyberpunk 2077 and Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
You have a set devastation?
A rudimentary implant.
I know I probably could have gone more in depth on those topics, but I would like to save that analysis for how they pertain to Alien, one of my favorite movies of all time. Obvious spoilers for the movie ahead. We open up to the cargo hauling ship, the Nostromo. On board, its crew of space haulers are woken from cryosleep mid-haul to find they'd received a transmission. Right away, I want to point out the state of their ship. Everything just gives off space trucker vibes. In the year 2122, which is just under 100 years away now, space travel and interstellar shipping specifically seems to have already become a commercialized business, dominated by megacorps like Weyland-Yutani, who, as we'll further see, value potential profit more than life itself. They discover the transmission shown earlier had rerouted them to a desolate planetoid LV-426. The details of the Special Order 937, however, are only known to the science officer, Ash. But he lets the crew know that they are to investigate a transmission coming from the planet's surface, because it might indicate intelligent life, which was not previously reported or established in the area.
Transmission?
Right away, crewmate Parker has a problem with this, yet Ash is quick to point out that their obligation to investigate was also tied to a clause in their contracts that would forfeit their pay upon refusal.
You want to give me some money to do, I'll be happy to. All right,
Man's right.
let's go with the bonus situation. We never
Can we
let's
just
talk about the bonus
Sorry,
situation.
can I say something?
Let's talk about the bonus.
There is a clause in the contract which specifically states any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
I don't want to hear
We
it.
don't know that's intelligent.
I want to go home and party.
Parker, will you just listen to the man?
On penalty of total forfeiture of shares.
Which changed Parker's mind pretty quickly.
You got that?
Yeah.
All right, we're going in.
Yeah. We're going in.
While the crew is down on LV-426, Ripley decides to run the transmission through the ship's AI to decipher it, while she and Ash monitor the operation from the Nostromo. When she gets a partial translation back, she tells Ash that it seems more like a warning, to which Ash is quick once more to dismiss any attempt to abandon the mission by telling her they'd find out if it was a warning by the time they get there anyway. Crewmate Kane skedaddles through this creepy wreckage and gets the worst Kinder surprise ever by falling victim to the facehugger and getting hauled back to the ship. On board, the captain and science officer Ash are poking and prodding the facehugger, trying to get it off Kane, while Parker is once again attempting to be the voice of reason.
Hey, how the hell's he breathing?
He's still alive or what?
And why don't you guys freeze him? How come they don't freeze him?
This would be the end of the movie in my opinion, and probably was the proper protocol, because if they froze Kane, then the facehugger probably would not have fully gestated and allowed them to at least get to a place that would be better equipped to handle the specimen. But it's here that we discover the acidic nature of the alien's blood before Ash continues to tickle it off of Kane's face. Kane eventually stabilizes to the surprise of Ash, who eagerly informs the captain.
Yes.
Dallas, I think you should come and see Kane.
Has his condition changed?
It's simpler if you just come and see him.
We're on our way.
As the crew is enjoying a meal all together once again, we get our famous chest burster scene, and the baby xenomorph squiggles on out of the room as everyone reels in shock. Which, if you love this movie as much as I do, then you might also know that the actors in this scene, other than John Hurt, had no idea this was going to happen, and were genuinely caught off guard by the chest burster. Let's take a moment before we continue. We've established that the crew is living in a high-tech low-life situation as space haulers for the megacorporation Weyland-Yutani, who is holding their pay over their heads if they don't investigate a potential sign of life, which is something none of them are trained for. As danger mounts, their science officer seems to be ignoring protocol and taking a strange self-interest in the alien that killed one of their co-workers. So what are your bets for the next checkbox we have? Because we already have megacorporations and high-tech low-life. I know a lot of you may already know, but for those who don't, what do you think it'll be? Cyberware or emotionally deep AI? As tension mounts further to the death of beloved Brett and Captain Dallas going MIA, the crew starts to panic now that multiple crewmates have gone missing. Ripley begins to ask Ash more and more about why he was so persistent with this mission, not buying the typical direct order spiel. Ripley is eventually pushed to her limit when the bodies of her friends are discovered, and being next in command, she overrides the confidentiality of Special Order 937, revealing that Weyland-Yutani didn't want them to investigate the transmission. They already knew what it was. They needed a crew to quietly go down there and get whatever life form left the warning, their remains, or whatever the warning was against. Ash jump scares Ripley and starts to behave even more strange than before, sweating a white liquid and giving his best Kubrick stare before attacking Ripley and attempting to suffocate her with a rolled-up magazine. The rest of the crew takes notice and rushes in, Parker bonking Ash hard enough to reveal what he really was all along.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
While our team of space truckers decides what to do next, Ripley wants more answers and decides to revive Ash's head. This is when we get our Psycho AI. Ash reveals he was placed on the ship roster last minute by the Corp in order to ensure that the life form would make it back, regardless of the potential danger posed to an untrained human team. As the crew asks more questions about the xenomorph, it becomes apparent that Ash has a sick interest in the creature similar to David from Prometheus, and the crew asks him about this directly.
You admire it.
I admire its purity, survival, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality.
After Ash is done fangirling over the xenomorph, he wants to make it a point to smile as he gives them his sympathies before they unplug him for good.
I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
So, while emotionally deep might seem a bit endearing for this villain, you have to admit that it's the very same depth and unhingedness that made David such a great antagonist in the most recent entries in the franchise.
Perfect organism.
Ash was not programmed with any special interests in mind. More so, it is implied that while following orders, Ash very much found it within his own morals to sacrifice his own crew members, not only for the sake of his mission, but for the sake of the
Perfect organism.
The rest of the movie is essentially hide and seek, with each person becoming xenofood until Ripley manages to escape the Nostromo, thinking she'd blown the ship up with the alien on board. However, to her surprise, the alien was smart enough to stow away on the escape pod and start hibernating. Ripley notices the sleepy little guy when his arm floops out from its nap hole. She slowly straps her and her massive set of balls into the command chair, after securing the cat of course, and blasts the foe out of the airlock once and for all, making sure to harpoon it and burn it up in the engine exhaust for good measure. So that was Alien. And so, with all of those elements given context within the film, I think it is more than easy to say that Alien is in fact a cyberpunk movie. Thank you for watching, and before I go, I just want to say, while researching for this video and having an excuse to rewatch one of my favorite movies a bunch of times, I also got to learn a lot more about the history of the cyberpunk genre and how sci-fi slowly started predicting aspects of today and potentially our own future. So when you hear from me next, expect to hear all about the new age of sci-fi, its badass authors, how they flipped a genre on its head, and how it started forecasting events to come, possibly in our lifetimes. Alright, that's enough now. Bye.